Imagine a life of immense wealth, yet profound isolation. This heiress lived in a world of silence, hidden from all, until one ordinary waiter, with an extraordinary heart, performed a simple act of kindness. This wasn't just a service, it was a revelation that would transform her life and his in ways no one could predict. The champagne flute shattered against marble at exactly 9:47 p.m., and nobody moved to help her. Hey everyone, welcome back to Unbroken Truths. Before we dive into this absolutely incredible story, I need to know, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do it now, because the story you're about to hear will change the way you see kindness forever. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment of this. Now, let me take you inside Le Ciel Bleu, the most exclusive restaurant in Manhattan, where tables cost more than most people's monthly rent, and the waiting list stretches 18 months into the future. This was where the city's elite came to be seen, to make deals, to flaunt wealth so excessive it stopped feeling real. Crystal chandeliers worth small fortunes, floors so polished you could see your reflection, waiters who moved like ghosts, anticipating needs before they were spoken. And sitting alone at table 7, surrounded by empty chairs and untouched wine, was Elena Stratton, 26 years old, heir to the Stratton pharmaceutical empire, worth an estimated $840 million, and absolutely, completely alone. She wore a midnight blue dress that probably cost more than a car, her dark hair swept into an elegant twist, diamonds glittering at her throat. To everyone watching, and they were all watching, she looked like every other socialite who graced these tables. Bored, entitled, untouchable. What they didn't see was the way her eyes tracked movement with laser focus, how her fingers drummed anxiously against the tablecloth in a specific rhythm, how she held her menu at an unusual angle, her gaze fixed not on the words, but on the waiter's lips as he approached neighboring tables. What they didn't know was that Elena Stratton hadn't heard a sound in 7 years. Not since the car accident that killed her mother and stole her hearing in one horrific moment. Not since her father, unable to cope with grief and a damaged heir, had shipped her off to boarding schools and treatment facilities, keeping her disability as quiet as possible. In her world, deafness was a weakness, a liability, something to hide behind expensive clothes and cold indifference. So she'd learned to fake it, to read lips with incredible precision, to nod at the right moments, smile when others smiled, laugh when others laughed even though she couldn't hear the jokes. She'd become a master of illusion, playing the role of the aloof heiress so well that no one suspected the truth. No one had figured it out in 7 years, until tonight. Standing near the kitchen entrance, polishing wine glasses with methodical precision, was Oliver Henley. 29 years old, 3 years into his position at Le Ciel Bleu, and the kind of waiter most diners never actually saw. He was part of the scenery, efficient, invisible, exactly what the job required. But Oliver had a secret too. He noticed everything. The way Mrs. Chen always ordered the salmon, but pushed it around her plate, never eating more than 3 bites. How Mr. Rodriguez's hand shook slightly when signing checks, probably early-stage Parkinson's. Which couples were on the verge of divorce based on seating choices and eye contact patterns. His coworkers thought he was weird. His manager thought he was overly attentive. But Oliver couldn't help it. Observing people was how he made sense of the world, how he survived it. And tonight, his attention kept drifting to table 7. To the woman who'd been coming here every Thursday for 6 months, always alone, always ordering the same thing, always leaving the moment her meal was finished. To Elena Stratton, who everyone said was cold as ice. But Oliver didn't see ice. He saw something else entirely. He saw the way she watched the sommelier's mouth with absolute concentration when he described the wine. How she tensed when people approached from behind where she couldn't see them. How she'd knocked over her water glass last week and then frozen, her face flickering with something that looked almost like panic. Most people would miss these details, write them off as quirks of the wealthy and odd. But Oliver's younger sister was deaf, had been since birth. And he recognized the signs. When Elena's champagne glass fell, tipped by a passing busboy's elbow, and shattered against the floor, Oliver saw what no one else did. She hadn't heard it break, hadn't flinched at the sound, She only reacted when she saw the glass explode across marble, her eyes going wide, her hands flying up defensively. The other waiters rushed over with brooms and apologies, speaking rapidly, expecting responses. Elena's face went blank, that careful, practiced expression of boredom sliding into place like a mask. But her eyes were screaming. Oliver moved before he could think about it, gently waving off the other staff. He crouched down to Elena's eye level, making sure she could see his face clearly, and signed. "Are you okay? Did any glass hit you?" American Sign Language. Fluid and natural, his hands forming the question with perfect clarity. Elena's entire body went rigid. For 3 seconds, Oliver counted them, and she didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared at his hands like they performed actual magic. Then her own hands lifted, trembling, signing back. You know ASL? "My sister is deaf," Oliver signed, his expression gentle. "Capital D. She'd kill me if I didn't learn properly." Elena's carefully constructed mask cracked, and for the first time in 7 years, someone saw her not as an inconvenience or a secret to be managed, but as a person who'd been drowning in silence, desperately waiting for someone to throw her a lifeline. Her hands moved again, faster now, almost frantically. "How did you know?" "Nobody knows. Nobody ever." She stopped, her composure shattering completely, tears welling in her eyes. Around them, the restaurant continued its elegant dance. Crystal clinked, conversations hummed. None of it reaches Elena's world, but Oliver was there, in her world, speaking her language. And everything was about to change. Elena Stratton had perfected the art of existing in two worlds simultaneously. In one world, the one everyone saw was the Stratton heiress, the woman who'd inherited her father's pharmaceutical empire at 19 after he'd deemed her prepared enough to handle board meetings and investor calls, as long as she had the right team of handlers around her. In the other world, the one she lived in was a 26-year-old woman who woke up every morning to absolute silence, who had to set her phone to vibrate so violently it nearly fell off her nightstand, who had learned to lip read in 3 languages because her father refused to let anyone know his daughter was defective. "Deafness is a PR problem," he'd told her coldly after the accident. "The Stratton name doesn't have weaknesses. Find a way to manage it, or I'll find someone else to manage the company." So she managed it, perfected lip reading, hired assistants who fed her information through carefully coded text messages during meetings, avoided phones by claiming she preferred email, kept people at a distance so they couldn't get close enough to notice. For 7 years, she has been invisible while standing in plain sight, until Oliver Henley looked at her with understanding instead of pity and signed the words that shattered her carefully constructed prison. "You don't have to pretend with me." Now, 10 minutes after the broken champagne glass, Elena sat at table 7 with her hands shaking so badly she had to fold them in her lap. Oliver had returned to work, clearing the glass, resetting her table, moving with the same efficient grace as before. But every few moments he'd catch her eye and sign something small. "More water? Ready to order? Doing okay?" Simple questions that felt like revolutionary acts. Elena's throat was tight with emotions she buried for so long she forgot their names. She pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. "How long have you known that I'm deaf?" Oliver glanced at the screen when he delivered her appetizer, then signed his response where only she could see. "Suspected for a few weeks. Your lip reading is incredible, but you track mouths, not sounds. And last Thursday, the fire alarm went off in the kitchen and everyone jumped except you. You only reacted when you saw others moving." Elena's eyes widened. She was so careful. So impossibly careful. "Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell someone?" Oliver's expression softened. "Because it's not my story to tell. And honestly, I was more impressed than anything. Do you know how hard it is to navigate a world designed for hearing people? My sister struggles with it every day, and she has a whole deaf community for support. You've been doing it completely alone." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Alone, yes. That's exactly what she was. Her father barely spoke to her anymore, just sent directives through his assistant. Her old friends had drifted away when she started acting weird after the accident. The staff at her penthouse were hired for discretion, not companionship. She existed in a bubble of wealth and silence, performing a role for audiences who never knew the truth. Oliver set down her entree. She always ordered the sea bass and signed, "Can I ask you something? And you can totally tell me it's none of my business." Elena nodded, her heart hammering. Why hide it? Being deaf isn't something to be ashamed of. Elena's hands moved before she could stop them. My father thinks it is. He thinks I'm broken, a liability. If the board knew, if investors knew, they'd push me out. Everything my mother built, everything she wanted me to protect would be gone. Your mother? Elena's eyes glistened with tears. She died in the accident, the one that took my hearing. Drunk driver, head-on collision. I was in the back seat. The impact ruptured both my eardrums beyond repair. When I woke up in the hospital, everything was silent and my mother was gone. Oliver's face crumpled with genuine empathy. I'm so sorry. My father couldn't look at me afterward, still can't. I'm a reminder of what he lost and what I became in the process. For a long moment, Oliver just stood there, his eyes filled with an understanding that Elena had been starving for. Then he signed, "You didn't become anything. You're still you, just experiencing the world differently." Elena felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been sealed shut for 7 years. I don't even know who me is anymore. I've been pretending for so long. Then maybe it's time to stop pretending. Across the restaurant, Oliver's manager, Bernard, was watching with increasing irritation. Oliver had been at table 7 for far too long. Other guests were waiting. This was unacceptable. Henley. Bernard's sharp voice cut through the dining room. A word. Now. Oliver glanced at Elena apologetically, signed "Be right back," and walked to where Bernard stood near the kitchen doors. "What exactly are you doing?" Bernard hissed. "That's Elena Stratton. Her father could buy this restaurant with pocket change. You don't chat with her like she's your friend. You serve her and move on." "I was just making sure I don't care. Table 12 needs attention. Table 9 is waiting for dessert menus. Do your job, Henley, or I'll find someone who will." Oliver bit back his response and nodded. "Yes, sir." But as he moved away, he caught Elena watching the interaction. She read Bernard's lips, understood every word. Her face had gone carefully blank again and practiced sliding back into place. And Oliver realized something crucial. Elena had been performing this role for so long, she had forgotten there was any other option. The rest of the dinner service passed in a blur. Oliver attended to his other tables, but his mind kept drifting to table 7, where Elena sat alone, eating slowly, her eyes distant. Around 11 p.m., as the restaurant began to empty, Elena signaled for her check. Oliver brought it over, and tucked inside was a small note written in his neat handwriting. "My sister runs a deaf coffee meetup every Saturday at 2 p.m. Java House on West 23rd. If you ever want to meet people who understand what it's like, she'd love to have you. No pressure, just an option, Oliver." Below that, he'd written his phone number with a single word, "Text me anytime." Elena stared at the note for so long that Oliver worried he overstepped. Then she pulled out her phone and typed something. His phone buzzed. "Why are you being kind to me? You don't even know me." Oliver signed his response where she could see, "Because 7 years is a long time to be alone, and because my sister taught me that deaf people don't need fixing, they need community. You deserve that." Elena's eyes filled with tears again, but this time she didn't hide them. She signed back, her movements careful and deliberate. "Thank you. I don't know what else to say except thank you." "You don't have to say anything," Oliver signed. "Just think about Saturday. Even if you just come for 10 minutes, it might help." Elena nodded, gathered her things, and stood to leave. But at the door, she paused and looked back. Oliver was clearing another table, but he felt her gaze and turned. She signed across the crowded restaurant. "I'll think about it." He grinned and signed back. "That's all I'm asking." As Elena disappeared into the Manhattan night, back to her penthouse, back to her silent world, she felt something she hadn't experienced in 7 years: hope. The terrifying, exhilarating possibility that just maybe she didn't have to do this alone anymore. And in the restaurant, Oliver finished his shift with a small smile, thinking about his sister Maya's reaction when he told her about Elena. Maya had always said that the hearing world was designed to exclude deaf people, that it took active choice and effort to bridge the gap. Tonight, Oliver had chosen to build a bridge. He just hoped Elena would choose to cross it. If you're feeling this story, drop a comment and let me know. And don't forget to subscribe, we're just getting started. Where are you watching from? Let us know below. Saturday came faster than Elena expected. She spent 3 days staring at Oliver's note, his phone number burned into her memory. She drafted 17 different text messages and deleted every single one. Is this coffee meetup really casual or delete? I've never been around other deaf people before. What if? Delete. I don't think I can do this. Delete by Friday night. She convinced herself not to go. It was ridiculous. She was Elena Stratton. She didn't need a support group or a community. She survived 7 years alone. She could survive the rest of her life the same way. But Saturday morning at 11 a.m., she woke up to find herself standing in her walk-in closet, agonizing over what to wear to a coffee shop. Not her usual armor, the designer dresses and power suits that screamed wealth and distance. Something normal. Approachable. She chose jeans, a simple sweater, minimal jewelry. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked young, vulnerable human. This is a mistake, she thought, reaching for her phone to text Oliver an excuse. But her hand stopped halfway, because the truth was she was exhausted from pretending to perform, from living in a world where she was always one mistake away from exposure. What if Oliver was right? What if there was another way? At 1:47 p.m., Elena stood outside Java House on West 23rd Street, her heart hammering so violently she could feel it in her throat. Through the window, she could see about 15 people scattered around tables, their hands moving in fluid, expressive conversation. Some laugh silently, others sign with intense focus. A whole world of communication happening without a single spoken word. It was the most beautiful thing Elena had ever seen, and the most terrifying. She turned to leave and walked straight into Oliver. He steadied her with gentle hands, his expression lighting up with genuine surprise and pleasure. "You came," he signed, his smile so warm it made her chest ache. "I'm leaving," Elena signed back quickly. "This was a bad idea. I don't belong here." "Why not?" "Because," Elena's hands faltered. "Because I'm not like them. I wasn't born deaf. I don't know the culture. I don't even know if I'm signing correctly. I taught myself from YouTube videos and online courses. What if they think I'm Oliver?" Gently caught her hands, stopping her spiral. "Elena, breathe." She did, her eyes locked on him. Being deaf isn't about how you became deaf or when or whether you know every cultural nuance. It's about shared experience. And trust me, everyone in that coffee shop has felt exactly what you're feeling right now, scared, alone, wondering if they belong. That's why this exists. So nobody has to feel that way anymore. What if I mess up? Then you mess up, and someone will kindly correct you, and you'll learn, and life will go on. Oliver squeezed her hands gently. "Come on, I'll introduce you to Maya. She's going to love you." Before Elena could protest, Oliver was guiding her through the door. The moment they entered, several heads turned. Eyes assessed her designer jeans, expensive watch, the unmistakable mark of wealth that clung to her even in casual clothes. Elena's instinct was to put on her mask, to become the cold heiress who didn't need anyone. But then a young woman with bright purple hair and infectious energy bounded over, signing rapidly. "Oliver, you made it, and you brought." She stopped, her eyes widening as she studied Elena's face. "Wait, holy shit, you're Elena Stratton, from the news, the pharmaceutical heiress." Elena tensed, waiting for the shift, the moment when she stopped being a person and became a transaction. But Maya's expression didn't change to calculation or greed. Instead, she grinned and signed. "That's so cool. My little brother finally brought someone impressive to coffee. Usually he just talks about you people like you're zoo animals. Oh, this customer did this weird thing. This lady orders the same meal every week. He's obsessed." Oliver's face flushed red. "Maya, oh my God." "What?" "It's true." Despite herself, Elena felt a laugh bubble up, the first genuine laugh in years. She signed. "He talks about customers?" "Constantly. It's actually kind of sweet in a creepy, observant way." Maya looped her arm through Elena's. "Come on, I want to introduce you to everyone. Fair warning, we're nosy, we're loud, well, you know what I mean, and we will absolutely ask inappropriate questions. But we're also the most loyal people you'll ever meet." Before Elena could process what was happening, she was being pulled into the group. There was Marcus, a deaf-blind man who communicated through tactile sign language, his service dog resting at his feet. There was Priya, a software engineer who went deaf from meningitis at 16 and now designed accessibility apps. There was David and James, a married couple who met at Gallaudet University and now run a deaf theater company. There was Keisha, a single mother of 3 who worked 2 jobs and still showed up every Saturday because, as she signed, "This is the only place I don't have to explain myself." Each person had a story. Each person had struggled. Each person had found their way to this coffee shop, this community, this chosen family. And slowly, Elena almost didn't notice her walls began to crumble. Maya brought her a coffee and sat down across from her, signing. "So, Oliver says you've been hiding your deafness for 7 years?" Elena nodded, her hands hesitant. "My father, he doesn't want people to know." "Screw your father," Maya signed bluntly. "No offense. None taken. You know what the hardest part about being deaf is?" Maya leaned forward. "It's not the hearing loss. It's loneliness. It's being in rooms full of people and feeling completely invisible. It's watching conversations happen around you and never being included. It's pretending everything is fine when you're drowning." Elena's throat tightened. "Yes, exactly that. That's why we're here, because we refuse to be invisible anymore. Because we decided that being deaf isn't a deficit, it's a different way of experiencing the world. And honestly," Maya grinned, "the hearing world is overrated. Have you heard half the stuff people say? We're better off." Elena laughed and felt something shift in her chest. Oliver appeared beside them with pastries, signing to Elena. "See? Not so scary." "I'm still terrified," Elena admitted. "Good. That means you're doing something that matters." For the next 2 hours, Elena talked for the first time in 7 years. About the accident. About her mother. About the crushing weight of hiding. About the loneliness that had become so normal she stopped recognizing it as pain. And everyone listened. Not with pity, but with understanding. With nods of recognition. With signs of solidarity. Priya shared how she almost dropped out of college after losing her hearing, convinced her life was over. "Now I make apps that help millions of people. Turns out losing my hearing was the beginning, not the end." Marcus explained how he learned to navigate the world through touch and trust, how his limitations had forced him to develop strengths he never knew he had. Keisha talked about her kids learning sign language so fluently they sometimes forgot their mom couldn't hear. "They don't see me as broken. They just see me as mom. That's all I ever wanted." As the afternoon light shifted through the coffee shop windows, Elena realized something profound. She spent 7 years thinking her deafness made her less. But these people, this community, they'd turned their deafness into more. More empathy, more resilience, more authentic connection. They hadn't let the world define them. They defined themselves. Around 4 p.m., as people started to leave, Maya pulled Elena aside. "You're coming back next week, right?" Elena hesitated. "I don't know. My father." "Your father doesn't get to decide who you are," Maya signed firmly. "Only you get to decide that. So I'm asking you not as Oliver's sister, not as someone trying to recruit you, but as someone who's been where you are. Are you done hiding?" Elena looked around the coffee shop, at the laughter, at the uninhibited signing, at people who found freedom in community. Then she looked at Oliver, who was watching her with patient, hopeful eyes. "I think I am," she signed slowly. "I think I'm ready to stop hiding." Maya's grin was brilliant. "Good, because we're not letting you go now. You're stuck with us." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." As Elena left Java House that evening, Oliver walked her to her car, a sleek black Tesla that probably cost more than he made in 2 years. "Thank you," Elena signed. "For today, for all of this. Thank you for coming. I know it wasn't easy. It was terrifying." "But," Elena smiled, unguarded and genuine, "but it was also the first time in 7 years I didn't feel alone." Oliver's expression softened. "You're not alone anymore, Elena. Not if you don't want to be." She looked at this man who had seen past her wealth, past her walls, past her perfectly constructed facade, and had offered her something more valuable than anything money could buy: connection, understanding community. "Same time next week?" she signed. "Same time next week," he confirmed. As Elena drove back to her penthouse, she caught sight of herself in the rearview mirror. For the first time in 7 years, she recognized the person looking back, and she looked like someone who might be ready to start living again. The first real change happened on Monday. Alina walked into the Stratton Pharmaceuticals headquarters at 8:47 a.m., as she did every Monday morning. Same designer suit, same confident stride through the marble lobby, same polite nods to employees who scattered when they saw her coming. But something was different. Instead of taking her private elevator to the executive floor, Elena stopped at the security desk where Marcus, a different Marcus than the one from Coffee, but the name made her smile, stood checking IDs. She never spoke to him before, never even looked at him directly. Now she did, and she noticed what she missed for 7 years, the way he angled his head when people spoke to him. The small hearing aid is partially hidden by his cap, the slight delay in his responses that suggested he was working harder than others to understand. Elena pulled out her phone and typed, "Good morning, Marcus. Do you know ASL?" Marcus's eyes widened in surprise. He glanced around, checking if this was some kind of test before nodding slowly. Elena set down her briefcase and signed, "I'm deaf. I have been for 7 years. I've been hiding it, but I'm trying to stop." Marcus's mouth fell open. Then, hesitantly, he signed back, "Miss Stratton, I've worked here for 5 years. I had no idea." That was the point. But it was also exhausting. Elena smiled. "I'm still learning, still figuring this out, but I wanted you to know you're not alone here anymore." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He signed, "Thank you. You have no idea what that means." "I think I do," Elena signed. "See you tomorrow, Marcus." As she walked to the elevator, she felt lighter than she had in years. The executive meeting started at 9:30 a.m. sharp. 12 board members sat around the mahogany table. Elena's father, Richard Stratton, presided from the head, his expression carved from granite. For 7 years, Elena had navigated these meetings through careful lip reading, coded text messages from her assistant Jennifer, and sheer willpower. She'd nod at appropriate moments, interject with prepared statements, never, ever reveal that she couldn't hear a single word. Today, she asked Jennifer to do something different. As Richard called the meeting to order, Jennifer stood and placed a tablet on the table in front of Elena. On the screen, live captions appeared. Jennifer had hired a CART provider, a real-time captioner who transcribed every word spoken in the meeting. Richard's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" Elena met her father's gaze steadily. "Accommodation." "For what?" The room went silent. 12 board members held their breath. Elena stood, her heart hammering but her voice clear. "I'm deaf. I have been since the accident that killed Mom. For 7 years, I've been compensating, hiding, pretending. As of today, I'm done pretending. I'll be using CART services for all meetings going forward, and I'll be implementing accessibility accommodations throughout the company." Richard's face turned to stone. "Sit down, Elena. We'll discuss this privately." "No." Elena remained standing. "This is a business matter. It affects company policy. The board should hear it." "You're making a spectacle. I'm requesting reasonable accommodation under the ADA, which is my legal right." The CFO, Martin Chen, cleared his throat. "Actually, Richard, she's correct. We should have been providing these accommodations all along. The fact that we weren't could be a liability issue." Richard's jaw clenched. But he couldn't argue with legal liability. "Fine," he said coldly. "Continue." Elena sat back down, her hands shaking but her spine straight. For the rest of the meeting, she watched the captions scroll across her screen. She participated fully. She made eye contact. She stopped performing and started being. And afterward, as board members filed out, 3 of them stopped to speak with her. "That took courage," Martin said. "Real courage." "I have a nephew who's deaf," another board member added. "He struggled to find employment. Would Stratton consider—" "Yes," Elena interrupted. "We absolutely would. In fact, I'm launching an accessibility initiative. I want our hiring practices, our facilities, our entire corporate culture to be inclusive. I'd welcome your input." By the time the room emptied, Elena felt exhausted and exhilarated in equal measure. Jennifer approached hesitantly. "Miss Stratton, that was incredible." Elena smiled. "It was terrifying." "Your father looked furious, I know." Elena gathered her things. "But he'll get over it, or he won't. Either way, I'm not hiding anymore." That evening, Elena returned to Le Ciel Bleu. She hadn't been back since the night with the broken champagne glass. Part of her had been afraid that Saturday's coffee meetup had been a fluke, that Oliver's kindness had been temporary. But when she walked through the doors at 8 p.m., Oliver's face lit up with genuine pleasure. He approached her table, signing, "You came back." "I had to tell you something," Elena signed, her movements more confident than they were on Saturday. "I told my board today about being deaf." Oliver's eyes widened. "Elena, that's huge. How did it go?" "My father looked like he wanted to murder me, but 3 board members were supportive, and I'm launching an accessibility initiative. We're going to make real changes." "That's incredible." Oliver paused, then signed carefully. "How do you feel?" Elena considered the question. "Terrified, relieved, exposed, free." She laughed, all of it at once. "Welcome to living authentically. It's messy. I'm noticing." Oliver smiled, then hesitated before signing. "Can I join you? When will my break start in 20 minutes? I'd love to hear more about today." Elena felt warmth flood through her chest. "I'd like that." 20 minutes later, Oliver slid into the seat across from her, 2 cups of coffee between them. "So," he signed, "tell me everything." And Elena did. She told him about Marcus at the security desk, about the board meeting, about the way her father's face had gone cold when she refused to back down, about the exhilaration of finally being honest. Oliver listened with complete attention, his expressions shifting with her story pride when she described standing up to her father, concern when she mentioned the potential fallout, joy when she talked about the supportive board members. "You know what this means, right?" Oliver signed when she finished. "What?" "You can't go back now. Once you tell the truth, once you start living authentically, you can't know what freedom feels like." Elena nodded slowly. "I don't want to go back, even if it costs me everything." "It won't cost you everything," Oliver signed firmly. "It'll cost you the wrong things, the things that were never really yours to begin with." "Like what?" "Like your father's approval, if it only exists when you're pretending to be someone you're not. Like business relationships built on image instead of substance. Like a life that looks perfect from the outside, but feels empty on the inside." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. I just watched my sister fight these same battles. She taught me that the people who truly matter, they'll stay. Everyone else was just scenery." "What if nobody stays?" Oliver reached across the table and gently touched her hand, not signing, just offering human connection. "Then you build a new family. Maya did. The people at Java House did. You will too." Elena turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. "Am I allowed to count you in that family?" She signed with her free hand. Oliver's smile was soft and sure. "I'm already counting you in mine." They sat there for a long moment, hands linked across the table, 2 people from completely different worlds who found unexpected connection in shared understanding. Around them, the restaurant hummed with conversations Elena couldn't hear, but for the first time, she didn't feel excluded. She felt present, seen, real. "Thank you," she finally signed, "for seeing me when I was invisible." "You were never invisible, Elena. You were just hiding. There's a difference." "And now? Now you're the brightest thing in the room." Elena laughed at a sound she couldn't hear but could feel in her chest. And somewhere in the corner of the restaurant, Bernard the manager watched the interaction with disapproval, making mental notes for Oliver's next performance review. But Oliver didn't care, because for the first time in his 3 years at Le Ciel Bleu, he wasn't just serving food and wine. He was witnessing transformation. And that was worth whatever consequences might come. Later that night, Elena lay in her penthouse bedroom, staring at the ceiling, her phone buzzing with messages. 3 were from board members, praising her courage. 7 were from her father's assistant, requesting urgent meetings to discuss the situation. 1 was from Jennifer. "Whatever happens, I'm with you. You were incredible today." And 1 was from Oliver. "Maya wants to know if you're coming to coffee on Saturday. Also, I want to know. No pressure, though." Elena smiled and typed back, "Tell Maya yes, and tell yourself yes too." His response came immediately. "Best news I've heard all day. Sleep well, Elena." Elena set down her phone and closed her eyes. For 7 years, she went to sleep in silence, feeling alone. Tonight, the silence felt different. It felt like peace. Drop a comment if this story is touching your heart, and make sure you're subscribed because this journey is just getting started. The text from her father's lawyer arrived Tuesday morning. "Richard Stratton requests your immediate resignation from the board, effective today. Non-negotiable." Elena stared at the message, her coffee growing cold in her hand. 7 years of hiding. 7 years of performing. 7 years of being exactly what he wanted. And the moment she stopped pretending, he tried to erase her. She typed back, "No." Within an hour, her access to the executive floor was revoked. Her corporate credit cards were frozen. Her parking space was reassigned. Richard Stratton was making a statement: conform or be cast out. Elena sat in her car in the visitor parking lot and did something she hadn't done since her mother's funeral. She called Oliver. He answered on the second ring. "Elena, are you okay?" She forgot he could speak, that he existed in both worlds, signing and speaking with equal fluency. "My father just tried to force me out of the company," she said, her voice shaking. "Everything my mother built, everything she wanted me to protect, he's taking it away because I won't pretend anymore." "Where are you?" "The parking lot." I don't know what to do." "Stay there, I'm coming." 20 minutes later, Oliver arrived, still wearing his waiter's uniform from the lunch shift. He slid into the passenger seat and immediately began signing. "First, breathe. Second, he can't actually fire you. Your mother will give you shares with voting rights. Check with a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure he can't just push you out. He controls everything else. He controls the company. He doesn't control you." Oliver's signs were firm. "Elena, this is the moment. You either fight for what your mother wanted, or you let him win. What do you want to do?" Elena looked at this man who showed her what genuine kindness looked like, who opened a door to a community she never knew she needed. "I want to fight," she signed, "but not for the company, for something bigger." "What do you mean?" "My mother started Stratton Pharmaceuticals to make medicine accessible, to help people. But over the years, my father turned it into just another profit machine." Elena's hands moved with growing conviction. "What if I started something new? What if I used my shares, my resources, to create something that actually serves the deaf community? Accessible healthcare, research into hearing loss, employment programs." Oliver's face broke into a brilliant smile. "That's perfect. That's exactly what the world needs. I have no idea how to do it. So, you'll learn. You'll build a team. You'll figure it out." He squeezed her hand. "And you won't be alone. Maya knows grant writers. Marcus from Coffee is a nonprofit consultant. Priya understands accessible technology. You have a whole community ready to help." Elena felt tears streaming down her face, but for the first time in 7 years they were tears of hope. "Will you help me?" she signed. "Every step of the way," Oliver signed back. "That's what family does." The next 2 weeks were brutal. Richard Stratton launched a media campaign painting Elena as unstable and unfit for corporate leadership. Business magazines ran articles questioning whether her deafness compromised her judgment. Her father's lawyers filed injunctions trying to freeze her shares. They challenged her mother's will. They dug up every mistake she made in 7 years of board meetings. Elena's penthouse became a war room, lawyers on one side, nonprofit consultants on the other, and Elena in the middle, signing frantically as she tried to build something new while defending what her mother had left her. Oliver came every evening after his shifts, bringing food and moral support. Maya coordinated the Saturday coffee group into a volunteer army. Marcus drafted bylaws. Priya designed an accessible website, but the pressure was immense. One night, Elena broke down completely. "What if I'm wrong?" she signed to Oliver, her movements jerky with exhaustion. "What if my father is right? What if I'm destroying everything for nothing?" "You're not destroying anything. You're building something better." "But what if I fail?" Oliver caught her hands gently. "Then you fail trying to do something meaningful. That's still better than succeeding at being someone you're not." "I'm so tired." "I know. But look." He pulled out his phone, showing her an email. 300 deaf individuals applied for jobs at your new foundation in the first week. 300 people who've been told they're unemployable, who've been passed over, who've been invisible. You gave them hope, Elena. That's not nothing." Elena read the email, tears blurring her vision. "How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I just know that you're worth fighting for, and so is this dream." That night, Elena fell asleep on her couch with Oliver sitting nearby, researching nonprofit law on his laptop. When she woke at 3 a.m., he covered her with a blanket and left a note. "Warriors need rest too. See you tomorrow." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Martin Chen, the CFO who supported Elena in that first board meeting, requested a private lunch. They met at a small cafe not Le Ciel Bleu, somewhere quieter, more discreet. Martin brought his nephew, the deaf one he mentioned before. 23 years old, a brilliant software engineer, couldn't get hired anywhere. "I've been watching what you're doing," Martin said through an interpreter. "The foundation, the advocacy, standing up to your father." "And," Elena signed, "and I want to invest $5 million, initial capital. Plus, I want to resign from Stratton and come work for you. Your father has lost sight of what matters. You haven't." Elena's jaw dropped. "You'd leave a company you've been with for 20 years? In a heartbeat, if it means building something that actually helps people." Martin smiled. "My nephew graduated top of his class, 12 interviews, 0 offers, because nobody wants to deal with accommodations. Your foundation could change that. I want to be part of it." Within a week, Martin's investment unlocked others. A former Stratton board member contributed $3 million. A tech company donated office space. A medical supply company offered equipment at cost. The Stratton Accessibility Foundation became real, not just a dream, but an actual organization with funding, staff, and purpose. Oliver convinced his manager Bernard to let him reduce his hours so he could help with outreach. Maya became the community liaison. Marcus handled operations. Priya built their technology infrastructure. And Alina finally understood what her mother had been trying to teach her, that real power wasn't about control or appearances. It was about service, connection, building something bigger than yourself. The final showdown happened at the Stratton Pharmaceuticals annual shareholder meeting. Richard Stratton stood at the podium, presenting record profits and expansion plans. He didn't mention his daughter, didn't acknowledge the foundation, acted as though Elena had never existed. Until Elena stood up. She brought an ASL interpreter, a clear, visible statement of who she was. "I have a question for the CEO," Elena said through her interpreter, her voice steady. "How many deaf employees does Stratton Pharmaceuticals currently employ?" Richard's face hardened. "That's not relevant to." "0. The answer is 0. Out of 4,000 employees, not one is deaf." "How many accessibility features do our facilities have?" "None." "How much research funding goes toward hearing loss treatment?" "Less than 0.2%. Shareholders shifted uncomfortably. "My mother founded this company to help people. All people. When did we stop caring about that mission?" Richard's voice was ice. "Miss Stratton, if you have concerns, there are proper channels. I've tried proper channels for 7 years. They don't work when the person in charge refuses to listen." Elena stood tall. "So I'm announcing today, the Stratton Accessibility Foundation will be partnering with 3 major medical research institutions to fund hearing loss treatment research. We'll be creating 500 jobs specifically for deaf and hard of hearing individuals, and we'll be offering accessibility consulting to any pharmaceutical company that wants to do better. Including our competitors, apparently," Richard said coldly. "Including anyone who's willing to actually help people, the way Mom wanted." The room erupted in whispers. Richard stared at his daughter across the conference hall. This woman he tried to silence, to control, to erase. And for the first time, Elena stared back without fear. "You taught me that power is everything, Dad. But Mom taught me something better, that purpose matters more than power. I choose my purpose." She walked out of the shareholder meeting with her head high, Oliver and Maya flanking her sides. Behind her, she heard scattered applause growing louder as more shareholders stood. Richard Stratton stood alone at the podium, watching his daughter choose a different path, and realizing too late that she'd been right all along. 6 months later, the Stratton Accessibility Foundation occupied an entire floor of a renovated building in downtown Manhattan. The walls were painted in warm colors of yellows and blues that Clarice from Oliver's Coffee Group said felt like sunshine. 300 employees work there now. Deaf, hard of hearing, hearing allies, all committed to a single mission, making the world more accessible. Elena stood in her office, smaller than her old executive suite, but infinitely more meaningful, looking at the framed photo on her desk. Her mother, smiling, at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a community health clinic. "This is what you wanted," Elena thought. "This is the legacy you dreamed of." A knock on her door. Oliver entered, signing, "Ready? The ribbon cutting starts in 10 minutes." "Nervous," Alina admitted. "Good nervous or bad nervous?" "Good nervous, the kind that means something matters." They walked together to the building's entrance, where a crowd had gathered. News cameras, community members, the Saturday coffee group in full force, and standing slightly apart, looking uncomfortable but present, Richard Stratton. Elena's breath caught. Her father approached slowly, his hands moving in careful, unpracticed signs. "I learned, for today." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, I was wrong," Richard signed, his movements stiff but sincere. "Your mother would be proud of this, of you. I should have said that 7 years ago. You're saying it now. That's what matters." Richard nodded, then spoke aloud. "I'd like to make a donation to the foundation, if you'll accept it." "We'll accept it," Elena said, "and maybe we can have coffee sometime to talk." "I'd like that." It wasn't redemption. It wasn't a Hollywood ending where everything was magically fixed, but it was a beginning. As Elena cut the ribbon, surrounded by her community, her chosen family, she felt Oliver's hand squeeze hers. "You did it," he signed. "We did it," she corrected. "All of us." That evening, the Saturday coffee group celebrated at Java House. Maya made a toast, signing dramatically. To Elena Stratton, who proved that the richest thing a person can have isn't money. It's courage, it's a community, it's the willingness to be seen even when it's terrifying. Everyone signed in agreement, hands waving in the air, the deaf equivalent of applause. Elena looked around at these people who'd welcomed her, challenged her, transformed her, and she signed back, to all of us, for building something beautiful out of silence. Later, as Oliver walked Elena to her car, she stopped him. "I need to tell you something." "What?" "That night with the broken champagne glass, you saved my life. Not dramatically, not heroically, just by seeing me. I don't know how to thank you for that." Oliver smiled. "You already have. You've built something that will help thousands of people. You've shown the world that being deaf isn't a limitation, it's just a different way of being human. That's the greatest thank you imaginable. Still, I want you to know, you changed everything." "We changed each other," Oliver signed. "That's what connection does." Elena looked at this man who bridged two worlds for her, the hearing world and the deaf world, and showed her that she belonged in both. "Same time next Saturday," she signed. "Always," he signed back. As Elena drove home that night, she didn't feel the familiar weight of silence pressing down on her. Instead, she felt the lightness of belonging, the warmth of community, the peace of living authentically. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "You're officially stuck with us forever. Hope you're okay with that." Elena smiled and typed back, "More than okay, grateful." Because 7 years ago, she lost her hearing and thought she lost everything. But today, she found something infinitely more valuable, herself, and a family who loved that self exactly as she was. This is what Unbroken Truths is all about, discovering that our greatest challenges can become our greatest strengths, and that simple acts of kindness can transform entire lives. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment sharing your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone's kindness revealed a truth you were hiding? Tell us your story below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now because we're just getting started with these incredible life-changing stories. Thank you for being part of this community. Until next time, remember, we all have the power to be someone's turning point. Choose kindness. Choose the truth. Choose to see people for who they really are.